Welcome to the Geek Cabal channel. I'm Bob,
I'm Jim.
and you're about to watch a clip from one of our longer podcast videos since they've been running about an hour and a half, 2 hours. We splice clips out. If you like the whole thing, it'll be linked to in the description. Hopefully, you'll watch it too. It's up to you, though. And since this is YouTube, you know how it goes. If you like what you like here, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But otherwise, hope you enjoy the clip.
So anyway, on to our topics. So for movies, I didn't know where to put these because I'm one of those fools that still has cable, and that's where I watch these movies. They're not new movies. I'm sure they're on streaming somewhere, but that's not where I watch them. So I didn't want to put them with streaming, so I'm going to put them here in the movies. I am kind of a Western fan, and it was kind of amazing. I had not seen one of these movies. The other one's kind of newer, so understandable. But anyway, over the last weekend, I watched Unforgiven for the first time. I'd seen parts of it before, but it is, if you've not seen it and you're a Western fan, or just if you want to watch a good movie, it's excellent. It's Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman and Gene Hackman, like all like pinnacle performance type stuff here. Briefly, the main plot is that Gene Hackman's the sheriff in this town, and kind of a bully, but I really got the impression that he was just really wanting to be the sheriff, like he's building his house out the edge of town. It's obvious he's a shit carpenter, though, and everyone's just kind of too afraid to tell him that. Then a couple of the working ladies have an issue. One of them gets all cut up by one of their customers, and they want vengeance. And Gene Hackman's like, well, I don't know. It just kind of got out of hand. Boys will be boys kind of answer. And then the guy that runs the saloon, like, he gets promised some horses in return. And they're just kind of like, well, wait, so he's going to get some horses. These guys aren't even going to get punished at all. And what? She's just screwed now that her face is all chopped up? They're like, what the hell's this? So they get some money together to hire a bounty hunter to kill the two guys that did this. And this young kid comes and finds Clint Eastwood, he knows him because his uncle knew him. He's a notorious gunfighter, thief, you name it, he's done it on the not so great side. And his wife has just passed away like a couple years back. He's got two kids. He needs the money. And so he goes and gets Morgan Freeman, who's his former partner, and they go to do the deed. And it's a whole lot of like, what would happen if his character from the Dollars trilogy was more on the darker side and then had survived into old age, So it's a guy that knows what it takes to kill another man and knows how god awful it really is. And Morgan Freeman's like along for the ride, and the kid, he's bluffing his way through, and it's just really great acting from everyone all the way across. Even if you don't like westerns, you probably like this one. So, Jim, have you by any chance ever seen that movie? Do you like westerns at all?
I don't normally navigate to, watch them, but I mean, I'm over at my, parents' house. A lot of times they'll be watching, a Western movie. And
Is your dad more of a Clint Eastwood or a John Wayne fan? Because I've noticed Western fans, at least from what I see, tend to fall one way or the other.
that I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't even really realize half the stuff he's watching. I'm just like, oh, this is kind of cool. That's one thing I did notice with westerns. A lot of times you could just come in at any point and just kind of sit in on them, and
they do tend to be very slow, and they're very. I hate to say they're all very formulaic, but like revenge is the plot to 90% of the westerns out there. So once you know the players, like, you know how it's going to go.
What is that one? I'm trying to think of because I know there's the Mel Gibson one, or Maverick.
Yeah.
And then there's one, I want to say it's Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck, that's Quigley Down Under.
Yes.
Which was basically just a glorified advertisement for the Quigley rifle, but it is good, and you get to see Alan Rickman as a cowboy paying off the line from Die Hard, where McClane tells him, "Oh, you wouldn't have made a bad cowboy yourself, Hans." And like it's like another like 2 or 3 roles later, he plays a cowboy essentially. But yeah, that one's good. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember it being good. Now, I'm a much bigger fan of Eastwood. I haven't seen many of the John Wayne movies, but I prefer the more John Wayne. His characters were morally upstanding, okay, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. But given the topic of a lot of westerns, I think Eastwood's closer to the what it would really be. You know, he'll shoot someone in the back. You know, if they've got it coming, he doesn't care. And his characters in general, even in like the good, the bad, and the ugly, like the pinnacle western movie, even though he's the good guy, he's still doing some morally dubious things throughout the movie. And I do particularly like how Sergio Leone, the director, described the movie. Three bums work their way through the Civil War towards a treasure. And so, you know, it's him, Lee Van Cleef's character, and Eli, I don't know if it's Wallach or Wallach, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But yeah, it's the three of them working their way through the Civil War. And it doesn't pull any punches on how horrible the Civil War was, by the way. But it's a good Western, too.
Well, that's it. About reminds me of the Alamo, and I can't think what the movie was called that did that. And I don't think they pulled any punches. They pretty much showed that everyone was massacred. And
was that probably the more recent one with I know Dennis Quaid to be one of the characters, I think, and maybe Billy Bob Thornton. I haven't seen it. I'm just going off of trailers that I've seen.
No, I say so when it's come to more recent Western movies, and I'm doing quotes on that, you know, it's been, you know, stuff that's just.
Are you gonna bring up Cowboys versus Aliens?
I've seen that one.
I actually think that's an okay movie. Just to be clear.
No, they're definitely not westerns. I mean, I guess technically Wild Wild West would be considered a western, but
well, I mean, it is. You know, it's a steampunk western, but you know, it's like No Country for Old Men is essentially a modern day western. You know,
and, you know, stuff like City Slickers and the Three Amigos.
The Three Amigos definitely is. City Slickers, I could see the argument.
You know,
I'm sure Jack Palance is in a number of other westerns anyway.
Young Guns and
yeah, Young Guns 1 and 2. Let's see, on the more recent end, you got like the remake of 3:10 to Yuma. I've never seen the original, but I did like the remake. It's a remake of a John Wayne movie. I guess I should watch the original because I like the True Grit. If you haven't ever seen that, it's really good. Chad tells me the original's better, though. He's more of a John Wayne fan.
Who's Chad? Chad, we miss you. Come back.
Come back. But yeah,
and Brad, we miss you too, Brad. So.
And we're working on getting you back. So yeah, I did mention The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's actually not my favorite of the Eastwood westerns. My favorite's actually Pale Rider. But The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is really good. Pale Rider was a little bit later. It's like in the 80s. It's a different tone for things, and just overall, I like it. For you James Bond fans, the guy that plays Jaws is a henchman in that movie. Richard Kiel, I believe is his name. I believe my uncle has a movie poster signed by him for Pale Rider, if I remember right. So, yeah, anyway, moving on to the other Western that I watched. The remake of The Magnificent Seven. This is really recent, like last 5-6 years. Denzel Washington's the main character. I believe he's the Yul Brynner character from the original. Chris Pratt is in it. Vincent D'Onofrio, Ethan Hawke, and I'm sure I'm forgetting other people. But yeah, I thought it was entertaining. I've not seen the original. I've started watching it one day, but I didn't get very far into it. And it's funny, this is a remake, because the original is actually a reimagining of The Seven Samurai, an Akira Kurosawa film. So, which I have also not seen, just to be clear. My film snob credit only goes so far. But no, it's pretty good. It presented a plausible reason for there to be the diverse cast there is, you know, and that was nice. You know, they ended up with a native guy on their team, an Asian guy, the guy that played Storm Shadow, actually. I don't know that guy's name, but he's in it. You it's an interesting group of individuals. Denzel's the leader of the group. He's a black guy. Didn't bat an eye when they're trying to train the town. The one guy asks him, so how many of you fought in the War of Northern Aggression? So you can tell which side he fought on. And him and Denzel get along just fine. So yeah. But as far as I know, the plot's the same as the original. Town is besieged by a wealthy landowner, and they hire these guys to come in and clean house. And yeah, it's pretty good. Well acted. A lot of action. It's a modern movie, so we've got Gatling guns and dynamite explosions, and we've got as much action as you can jam pack into a movie that takes place in like 1890.
Yet another trope in movies that just sometimes will sacrifice good storytelling for that. Well, it's too slow paced. Like people are just talking.
Well, a lot of the movie is not super fast paced. It's mainly the big action. It's the big final battle at the end. Okay, a lot of it is slow, like most other westerns. Yeah. It's just that it came to that point. It's like, well, all right, this is 20 whatever. Like, let's throw some pizzazz into this. Didn't see the Gatling gun jam, which statistically should have happened at some point. Also, interesting side note, for those of you who have figured out that we live in the state of Indiana, a gentleman from Indianapolis invented the Gatling gun. It's called the Gatling gun because his name was Dr. Gatling. So,
well, that's like the one news article I came across. I don't know how accurate it is, but where somebody had bought a minigun from a helicopter in Florida.
I don't think it's from a helicopter. I think it's from an A-10 Warthog, wasn't it?
Maybe. Yeah, because it was it was right. You're right, because it was the pod that goes up into the nose cone. I'm like,
yeah. I'm sure you can buy them decommissioned, or maybe not.
Well, I know the Gatling guns, like the original hand crank ones, you can purchase them because they're old enough.
Right, because it's okay. Not at all a lawyer. Don't take anything I'm about to say as legal advice in any way, shape, or form, and I could be mistaken. But to my understanding, the way it works is it's not technically a fully automatic weapon you have to be able to pull the trigger once and multiple bullets emerge in a succession. A Gatling gun doesn't work that way. It's one hammer pull fires one bullet. It's just the other barrels are all loaded, so as it rotates, it boom, 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 boom. It can fire as fast as a machine gun, but it's mechanically it is not a machine gun as it's understood per the law. Given my understanding of things.
But and this is me going off of what I've seen on Pawn Stars, so take that with what you will. Is that guns of a certain age do not fall under the I think if they're over a century old that it's
the NFA.
Yeah.
I do wonder what's going to happen in the because a Maxim machine gun would already fall into that then, so I kind of wonder about that because that is a machine gun. That is a little bit of firearm history here for you folks. The Maxim machine gun is the basis, the mechanisms for how it works is the basis for all automatic weapons and most semi-automatic weapons. As far as the one trigger pull fires a bullet and sets the rest of the gun into motion to eject the cartridge and bring the next one in and everything and reset the hammer and all that. That's also invented by an American, Hiram Maxim. He was paid by Edison to go to Europe because he was a self-taught man and was inventing things, and Edison paid him because he wanted to monopolize the genius market. And he moved to Europe, met a friend of his over there one day, and showed him some inventions he'd come up with. And his friend was like, yeah, these are all great, but you really want to make money over here. Give the Europeans a better way to kill each other. And that's what he did. So, yeah.
There was one firearm that they sold on Pawn Stars that just cracked me up. It was a desk gun. It was a desk with a built-in gun that would shoot out the front.
Yeah. Like you see in a movie, like with a gun right under. Yeah.
Well, it had a thing that would flip down and.
Oh, well, that's different. Okay.
And it just, it would just have, like you would shoot the person in front of you. Like I guess it would be like if somebody was trying to rob you and they were standing in front of you. Just.
All right.
I have no idea what it was used for because they were like, what would this? Because that was the whole thing of the episode. Now I understand that Pawn Stars is all just none of it's real. I mean, people do come in and show stuff, but they have to meet with them ahead of time, and they think it's worth recording. Then
Yeah.
then they'll set the whole thing up.
Oh, come on, Jamie! You're trying to tell me that it's like those where they find the storage buildings full of stuff. You're trying to tell me that that's not
Hey,
all accurate.
sometimes it is though. I have bought a storage unit before.
Oh, I know people do buy them, but I meant the whole like, oh, what's in here? Like, as far as I'm aware, that part's completely rigged. Like,
Yeah,
they only do that with the ones that have stuff in them worthwhile.
Though I did learn another thing about the magic of television, that the cash cab doesn't actually hand out real cash.
Really?
No, they pay them later.
Okay. Wow. That seems like it's false advertising of some kind. You've shattered my visions of the cash cab.
No, I mean that's why he like just randomly has the exact amount of money. It's not like he's sitting there counting it while he's driving. It's just a handful of cash that they say, oh yeah, this is your money, and then
then the van that's following them pays them probably,
or because they have to do taxes and all that stuff because they can't just hand them cash and let them go.
I would think it would depend on the amount, but also I suppose it depends on where they are. Because I know here in Indiana it's a high amount before you got to pay taxes on it. Because from having been to Las Vegas, it's a set dollar number, and I don't remember what it is, but if you pay attention to a lot of the machines, they pay out like 1 cent below that, so they can avoid the taxes on it and everything. So even though if you win twice, you're supposed to, it's cumulative, But anyway, that's what they told me anyway.